Today, name that Pokemon. It was Pikachu. It was definitely Pikachu. This is ChillPoint.
Name that stream.
Every time I see me leaning back in the chair, I'm like, I should do that. Every time.
And then you go, what?
And I go right over on my side.
Also, if you lean back in the chair, you can no longer talk.
Yeah, it's true. I get too far away from the mic and I have to breathe in.
No, because you're too far away from the mic to hear you at all, so your speaking privileges are immediately revoked.
I could get a wonder core.
This is
you're
the
right.
mic rules.
Okay, I will stay.
They're
within,
like van rules?
I will stay within its bubble.
Okay.
Van rules?
Well, you know, because when you get into the van, there's the rules of the van.
Ah, yes.
Because these are the mic rules. These are the rules of the mic.
Yes. Vampire rules. Yes.
I may have been rewatching the campaign again on double speed.
Wait, did it ever come across that Cora's character was a vampire? She's the one with the van.
We call them kindred. We're
Yeah.
not allowed to use the V word.
Fair enough. All right, never mind.
Hi, Paul.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to ChillPoint, which was previously a show where we talked about video game news. Now
I could find you some vampire games. There was Bloodlines.
This is a show he voluntarily chooses to be on with the two of us.
Bloodlines 2 will one day maybe come out.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of vampire
there's like a
games.
bunch of choose your own visual novels, like I think Swan Song is one of them.
And actually, I mean, technically speaking, when you were doing the Not a Drop Drink campaign, as well as the van rules and the vampire rules, there were also mic rules.
Yep, and some of us did not follow them very well. Sometimes
some people followed in different amounts.
Yeah, that's all. Actually, the entire thing of what got cut out when we cut stuff was just Paul being like, "Hey, get on your mic," and we're like, "Oh, right, yeah."
Welcome to ChillPoint, show where we talk about the week's video game news, as well as this week's episode of ChillPoint, which
Checkpoint.
We talk about ChillPoint on ChillPoint, which I guess
we do.
is a
We can get
tautology.
recursive.
Yeah. We also talk about this week's episode of Checkpoint, which went up yesterday, and is very good. And it's sort of an extended, little bit of a bonus length episode with 6 stories in it, because we didn't have any we didn't do Checkpoint for like 2 weeks, so
Yeah,
there was a couple extra stories to do.
And then there was some story build up that they could draw from.
Exactly.
Sometimes you need a little bit of a backlog.
It's rare that we do 6 stories in a thing.
Yeah.
I think you've done it once before.
Yeah.
Within this last year, but
Yeah, not even a roundup style. Like, it was literally like, we had just stuff.
It's always great when I wake up in the morning and I'm like, time to do graphics. Oh, there's half again as many graphics as we normally need. Great.
Oh, good. And no warning, because I finish writing at like 3 a.m., so Paul has no idea what he's waking
isn't
up
this so
to.
much better than we get up in the morning real early and everyone's like, by the way, Paul, we're doing this story right now. And you have to grab graphics as they're writing.
What's funny actually is, I don't know if this, I don't know what about the last one we did with more stories than normal, but with this one, it was actually, the writing was split exactly. So there was, 2 stories from Beej, 2 stories from Kathleen, and 2 stories from Graham. Mm-hmm. Graham, of course, didn't actually read the stories, so
Not appearing in this movie. Yeah.
Kathleen and Beej split his stories, but
We do a little ghostwriting now and then.
Yeah.
But
He's not a ghost.
see if you can guess which ones were which.
Yes, I believe Graham, Beej,
playing me on easy
Beej
mode,
and
essentially.
Kathleen each read one of Graham's stories, so see if you can identify them.
Yeah.
Post what you think they are in the YouTube comments below.
So let's talk about some of the stories. Starting with Stadia. Now we talked about this on previous Chill Points. And so this was actually because obviously the shutdown for Stadia happened in weeks when ChillPoint didn't actually happen. So we wanted to make sure that we actually did mention it on ChillPoint because it's kind of a big
And
deal.
sometimes people don't watch ChillPoint. They just watch the trailer.
Yeah.
Checkpoint.
And then there's
But-
also this added little piece, little twist to it with these new Chromebooks
Oh yeah.
that literally just came out, advertising their compatibility advertising their compatibility with cloud gaming, like excessively, I would say. Like if you look at the website for it, it's like all of their features are centered around. It's like it's got this awesome screen, which is great for cloud gaming. It's got the kind of hard drive that you need for cloud gaming. It's got all the great graphics and audio and stuff. It'll be perfect for cloud gaming.
It's weird to me because my Switch does cloud gaming. Y'all ain't slick.
So marketing specifically, especially different products that are done within the same company, they really like to, let's use the dirty word, synergize
Yeah,
with their
fine.
products.
I like it.
And what this says to me is they were probably originally doing a PR thing about how great Stadia would work on these, and then found out. I'm even guessing from the news itself,
Maybe at the
because
same
maybe
time.
they didn't tell everybody in the other departments. In fact, I've
Well-
seen stores do it where
Yeah.
where employees show up day of and get told to leave because they're just shutting the store down. And I wouldn't doubt Google did the same thing. I don't know for sure, but I wouldn't doubt it.
These are Chromebooks. They're not actually like a first party thing. They're made by like Asus or
Yeah.
different companies. So they're Chromebooks. Chrome makes the OS, but Chrome doesn't, or Google doesn't make the hardware.
Yeah, but their
Yeah.
PR was probably
Yeah,
still
yeah.
geared towards we'll do a lot of Stadia stuff,
there
and then when
was-
they found out, they had to pivot hard.
Yeah, I bet there was. Yeah, they probably didn't have to change a lot of the marketing copy.
Yeah,
just a little find and
Was
replace.
it find replace Stadia
Change a few
with cloud gaming?
With
Change a
everything
few
else,
logos.
Yeah. Do you
Take this logo out.
do you remember the Pixel book?
Yeah.
Isn't that the phone?
So
No, the Google. Well, that was a first party,
yeah, that was a Google produced.
and like Google Pixel is the Google phone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the Pixel book was like a very high res Chromebook. It was like we made it because most Chromebooks have been kind of like inheriting that net top mantle, right? The kind of like remember the EPC and stuff, right?
Netbook.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
I used to think netbooks were cool.
yeah, I mean they kind of are because they're so cute and whatever, but
Yeah,
they
like
are
tiny
also
little laptops.
largely unusable these days because they are very slow.
They're so
But like the Pixel book was like we're gonna make a high res screen, more high res than a lot of laptops had hanging around, but it's also gonna be a Chromebook. So you're paying like $1,100 or whatever for a Chromebook, but you're getting this crazy nice screen because of it. That's mostly what you're paying for. And so to be like, then they were like, we're killing the Pixel book altogether. And now, but Google's also like, but still, Chromebook is a thing, and there's cloud gaming Chromebooks and all this stuff. We're pushing this idea, and I'm like, yeah, you're basically pushing the idea of a really nice laptop that's inexpensive because everything's in the cloud, including all your gaming. And I'm like, you had one of those and you killed it, and then you killed the gaming thing.
There's a trend going on there.
Yeah.
And yeah.
But they're not the ones making these new Chromebooks, is what you're saying. Is that they're advertising the idea of a Chromebook. Please buy it from Asus or
And I mean they've been doing that
For a while.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen. Have you seen the YouTube ads for Chrome, and their tagline?
Right, which is like
There's no place like Chrome.
there's no place like Chrome.
Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
actually a fairly clever ad for a YouTube ad.
So yeah, they're really pushing these that are good for GeForce Now, Amazon Luna, Xbox Cloud Gaming Beta.
Yes, everyone I know is streaming on Luna.
Um,
Does anyone even know what games are on
When
that
you mentioned
platform?
Luna, I was like, who's that?
Amazon.
But I was like, who is that? I thought that was a cryptocurrency.
See,
Yeah.
I only know
I-
because
I-
it shares my username handle, and I'm like, man, it'd be really funny if I streamed games on Luna as Lunar Jade.
to be
It's too
fair,
bad they probably don't have anything I want.
Yeah, I agree that I before this story I had kind of forgotten about Amazon Luna.
They mentioned
I'm
it
not
once.
saying that it was not that there aren't people
No,
that enjoy it.
I think
but-
they advertised it once, like just before the Video Game Awards or something last year, and then some stuff would mention it during that show, and then I hadn't heard anything about it.
In a larger respect, like pulling the camera out, especially on, because if we're talking about the cloud gaming, especially, it seems that tread into territory here. Why not? It seems that the people to trust on making a cloud gaming service are not cloud companies, but gaming companies. Is kind of the sense I've been getting, because every time I hear people talk about like cloud gaming that's actually doing well, I hear about like NVIDIA GeForce Now, a hardware company, but specializes very much in we're making gaming hardware, and so we're going to make a cloud-based service about gaming, and Xbox being like we might be part of a cloud-based company with Microsoft and whatnot, but we are a gaming-focused company within that company, and we want to make that. And Google Stadia not working out, and then we also have Amazon Luna, which is like, well, a e-commerce company that is now big into cloud and whatnot. And I'm like, but at no time have you ever made a splash in gaming. Not because I won't count Twitch for this, but it's like they've never made a splash in gaming
I mean,
as
they didn't
we are
start
a
Twitch.
gaming-focused company. And I'm like, yeah, so I would trust Sony to do a better cloud gaming production. I would, at this point, trust that whatever Nintendo eventually comes up with for cloud gaming is going to be more successful than Google Stadia was.
Well,
has
okay,
been.
all right.
So,
If you say that way, sure.
so I'm just kind of throwing that out there. I think a gaming company might do gaming in the cloud better than a cloud company might do cloud gaming.
I think yeah. I mean, I think the gaming companies have the they know what is sort of necessary to make it work. Whereas cloud companies might be more inclined to be like, this is this is how to do it from sort of a technical point of view.
Yeah.
Whereas
We haven't solved the fun side of the
the
equation.
gaming people are more inclined to be like, we need X, Y, and Z to make it so people will actually use this.
Because it needs to be fun
Yeah,
first, and this is what will.
'cause-
This is technically what will make it fun.
in a technical sense, yeah, there has to be someone who can make the service and make it run well. It still needs some sort of games, because like a platform of any kind does not sell based on the platform being cool
Yeah.
to enough people. Generally, it has to have the games to push that platform.
Right.
But then that's the other element. You need people who want to do that, and we still have people who don't. Like, we still don't have the internet structure in certain countries, even in our own, to make that really worthwhile for a lot of people. Never mind the people who live outside of places that don't get signal like that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
by and large, a lot of cloud companies they're situated in places where it's like Mountain View, California, and Silicon Valley, where there's like fiber out the
I
ass.
would not
and-
doubt that cloud gaming in Japan is probably a lot bigger, given that their internet seems to be more.
I mean,
Well,
I
and
would
it's-
assume even South Korea too.
Yeah,
And it's also when your distances are smaller than
more people compact and things.
like I have Xbox Game Pass, which
Right.
comes with all the cloud gaming stuff, and I've played cloud gaming a little bit. In the tests that I've done with it, I've found the latency to be sort of noticeably distracting.
And you are on fiber at home, are you not?
I'm not on fiber, but I'm on I've got
Really high,
pretty
cable.
chunky. I've got very chunky bandwidth at home.
Okay, yeah.
I do all the streams and stuff. I've got like gigabit. But at that point, it's not your band. We're talking latency, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know where the Xbox cloud gaming servers are. They might be down in Redmond or something,
Right.
or maybe even just in Vancouver or whatever. But at a certain point, even at the speed of light, there's certain fundamental limits to how low you can get the latency.
Yeah.
And and the little bit that I've experimented with it, I got frustrated with it pretty fast.
Right.
Just that, the the time between hitting a button and the just like made all my screwed up all my the
Timing.
platforming for jumping.
Yeah.
I'd always fall off the edge of the platform just before I jumped and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when I can play a rhythm game on hard, at very least hard mode, on a cloud streaming service,
Then you'll know it's
then,
arrived.
Yeah.
then I'll know it's arrived. No, that's what I do all my testing on when I'm testing latency on a device or streaming or anything. I turn on a rhythm game because the rhythm game is going to tell you whether or not everything's bad.
I remember my favorite one was back in the day when lots of people in the office here were playing Bloodborne. Cam had been played a ton of Bloodborne on stream, and the way we had our stream setup configured at that point, he had been playing it. He was playing it from the actually looking at watching the preview
Right.
in XSplit,
Right.
and was just playing it there. And he had been very successful playing,
Yeah.
but there's a not insignificant lag there. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not huge,
It's like a few hundred milliseconds.
but
or
there's
something,
there's a lag there.
Yeah.
And of course, Bloodborne and those kind of games are the timing windows are very tight. Mm-hmm. And so I came in one time when he was playing, and I was like, you can just switch that monitor over so you can see the actual output of the
direct
PlayStation.
feed, yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, that'd be way better." But now, of course, his reflexes were
Yep.
completely off. They were off the other way. He was lagging behind everything.
Yeah, I had that problem with when we played Patapon on Rhythm Caf, or I guess it would have been Rhythm Tuesday at that point, and we hadn't really done that setup yet. I had adjusted to what the screen was showing me, but I was trying to do some grinding on the Vita
Oh, right.
because there's just a lot of grindy elements to that game, and I'd get really good at it there, and then I'd switch to the Vita and be garbage. Then I'd get better at it because you relearn, and then I'd go next week and be garbage again. And
no.
this is the worst.
The
It's so bad when you know you can be good at a thing and you're just not.
I mean, to be honest, I mean, this is getting pretty far away from the story now, but to be honest, because you're like, if and when Nintendo comes up, does a cloud gaming thing. But of course, Nintendo, the Stadia does, or the Switch does have a bunch of cloud stuff.
Yeah.
There are cloud games on Switch,
With
yes.
the cloud game, but what's interesting about it is that they're not actually not only do they not is it not marketed as a cloud gaming thing, they actually are almost are sort of hiding it, not hiding it, but minimizing it.
I mean, yeah, it's
This
because
game's on
it's-
cloud.
yeah.
because it's not considered to be a selling point.
Because the games when they come out, they will say hyphen cloud whenever they've promoted
Yeah.
them, right? And then that's the first and last time they will mention any of that.
But I don't know that any of them are Nintendo first-party games.
They are not.
No.
I've
they
seen
wouldn't- yeah.
I think what is it, Control and Kingdom Hearts is specifically one people were very angry about.
Right.
I think in Japan they had the Final Fantasy VII remaster on there,
Yeah.
but I think they were all third parties, and I don't know if they maintain their own cloud stuff and they just have to pay for
Resident Evil.
Yeah, and by and
Resident
large,
Evil. Look, they put 7 in a lot of game titles now.
all of the NSO games, like the NES and the Super NES and Sega Genesis stuff, when that came out, I was literally, I'm sure what they're doing is sending you a 256 kilobyte file or whatever, whatever the size of the file is for you to play the game.
Right.
They're just going voomp and just sending it directly to your Switch, and you're playing it in the emulator that's already baked in.
You can play them offline, yeah.
Your Switch, all that kind of thing. And I'm like, do they do that with the N64 games, which are a lot bigger, that you do have to wait to get them? And
I mean, N64 is still 50 megs.
yeah, it's 50 megs, right? You have to wait, but you do have to wait like 30 seconds or so for the thing to show up. And I'm like, every time I've started one of those games, it feels like they start really fast. I don't know, because we have 150 meg down at our house, and
Yeah.
I'm like, that's fast.
But you can play all these things offline.
Yeah, and it just kind of, but it made me wonder. I'm kind of like, can you set up offline and then play? Like literally, if I take my Switch off and I'm not on the Wi-Fi, can I play every game that's on Nintendo Switch online?
Yes.
So they're all basically just because
the-
I've installed the emulator, I've actually installed all the games.
Yeah,
with
the
it.
only thing that you need online for in there is to basically do a verification check that you're
Still subscribed.
That you're still subscribed.
Right.
And my understanding is that verification check lasts about a week.
And so that's not even cloud gaming at that point.
No.
So they don't actually have any sort of cloud service themselves. It is all third party.
Yeah, but I mean, what I was thinking though is that it's an interesting strategy in that, they are delivering. There are some games for Switch that are being delivered in this cloud way.
Mm-hmm.
And people are not that stoked about it.
No.
But the games are selling,
Yeah.
and people are playing them, and
I mean,
people
they
are
have to
enjoying,
be
and
if
people
people are
are
doing
enjoying
it.
the games.
Yeah.
Because that's their only alternative to play it.
Exactly.
But people are playing it, and I could see that as being almost like a, you keep,
Softening you
keep
up.
pushing that, and it's like, Control. I played on cloud. It was fine. Like it was actually pretty good
Yeah.
playing on cloud, and then the next gen console has most of the stuff on cloud.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's not so bad. Like,
Yeah.
And to be honest, like that might be the way to do it, right? Get people used to the idea, like don't actually market it as cloud gaming is this awesome new cool thing.
Exactly.
Get people kind of used to playing games on the cloud as being like, yeah, this is like, it's not like amazing and cool and better, but it's not worse.
Yeah.
So I guess it's okay.
Yeah.
So video game marketing will probably, I wouldn't doubt, lean that way now that people, if people are yelling about not liking cloud.
Yeah.
But most video game marketing I've ever seen starts with, we want to hype up this really cool idea that we think is really amazing.
Right.
And maybe we've even been soaking in that idea for months, so you can't even see why people might not like it.
Mm-hmm.
And you bring it out and you say, hey, isn't it great that this thing is happening? We're going to go digital only. Nobody wants discs anymore. It's super great. Here's all the pros. And then everyone's like, no, we don't like that. And they're like, okay, all right, we're just going to table that for a while. And then eventually, but they're still kind of pushing for it, right?
Yeah, they move the window.
It's just slower.
Yeah.
And I can't blame them, because what if that idea was correct? What if everybody on the planet was like, heck yes, I've been waiting for that this entire time. I'm so glad they're going that way.
Yeah.
Then you don't have to do the slow push. You can do the big push.
Yeah.
And it's also like there's ideas that are, there's ideas that are correct, just not at the right, time.
Sometimes things have mistiming,
Yeah, like the old.
or you need more of a lead up.
Yeah, and it's like there's certain technologies only work when bandwidth has, high bandwidth connections have already, penetrated a certain amount, right? And then you end up with and then you just go like, well, everyone's on high speed now. We can do the things where all our games are downloaded, and then.
I mean,
And then people complain about that because it turns out that not as many people are on high bandwidth as you thought because you're in a big city.
And
We
I know
have-
there's marketing research that can be done for these things, but there's still a point where you have to release something into the world to see if it actually flies.
Yeah.
Research will only take you so far.
Yep.
and I mean, also, there's the technical constraints of having co-location. I mean, because Netflix has that issue, right? Where they're like, we try to get our catalogs co-located into as many different places as possible. You have content delivery networks that are basically saying we're spreading stuff across the earth. So if you get on with Akamai or whomever else, it's like, yes, we can spread all of our stuff around, hosted in like hundreds of different locations, so it's always close to you. And I'm like, right, the more people, or the more, I shouldn't say people, companies, the more companies who do that, the more content producers who end up spreading their stuff around like that, then to make it a functional thing, because like what if on the island there was a colo that had the Xbox Game Pass cloud gaming stuff? Would it be
Right.
faster? Maybe it would be better performance for you, right?
I would assume so.
I would assume so too, but it's like we don't have all that in all those different places.
I mean, from what I understand, for all of these systems, your experience is basically directly correlated with how close you are to the servers.
Yeah, and so you just have to keep like. Eventually, what happens is that you start having colo having to happen in like all these different places all across, all across countries to be like, well, we have to have one that's not just in Vancouver. We have to have one on Vancouver Island somewhere. Like,
And I mean, to be honest, that was one of the things that I was sort of optimistic about Stadia. I was like, if anybody can do the,
You would think.
the spread out enough servers for colocation to make cloud gaming work, it's Google.
yeah,
Yeah. And I mean, the initial idea of Stadia is a fantastic idea.
agreed.
Right? The idea that we all have a bunch of devices around us most of the time. Wouldn't it be great if you could just play whatever game you want on any device?
Yes.
Is a solid idea. Execution and making that all work out, a lot harder.
Yeah. Big.
A lot more goes into that.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on to Overwatch 2, aka Overwatch 1.5.
I mean, I think you mean you have to move on to Overwatch 2 if you're playing Overwatch 1 because
That's
Overwatch
true.
1's gone.
That's
Yeah.
true. If you were playing Overwatch 1, congratulations, you moved on to Overwatch 2, whether you
Or
wanted to or not.
You just moved on.
Now the obviously there's the stuff about the phone number that or the SMS verification, all that malarkey. That they kind of pulled back on. They said that if you've already got a Blizzard account, you don't need to do that.
Okay.
Okay, so go back in time in your time machines.
Which still means that if you're a new player, like, or you're a kid or whatever, you're still in trouble.
SOL.
You're
Time
still
machines
messed up.
constantly solving all problems in humanity.
Which, by the way, they've also talked about the new Call of Duty is also going to be
Yeah, I saw that this
phone
morning.
activated. And they haven't said anything about you being able to get around it if you already have a Blizzard account, because of course, Blizzard Activision.
Yeah.
So that's fun.
Call of Duty is Blizzard?
Yeah.
Or it's Activision.
I thought it was Microsoft.
No.
No, I'm thinking Halo.
Yeah.
Yeah, Halo's
Okay.
Microsoft. Now,
Sorry, they all kind of look
now
very
that
similar.
well, if the
This is important.
if the
Merger.
if the merger goes ahead, it will become Microsoft. That is actually one of the sticking points with the merger.
Just be
because
Halo, Call
Sony
of
is
Duty.
mad AF.
Yeah.
Halo, the Call of Duty.
But we'll get to that.
Okay.
So
right.
the thing about the story that is hilarious is this idea that it's like not only it's like Overwatch 2 and then people are like, well, it's basically Overwatch 1.5, and it turns out Blizzard basically agrees with you, and Microsoft agrees with you, because in the various storefronts, they just updated the Overwatch 1 entry and turned it into Overwatch 2 rather than actually making a new entry.
Yeah.
I want-
And
which
they
meant
left all the
Reviews.
reviews.
Yeah, I mean, I know that means that it's like we part there. Okay, there's the cynical take of they did that because and then they keep the star rating and all the reviews. But
And
I
the
want
achievements, by the way.
yeah, and the achievements. But I wanna look at this in the lazy point of view of it. Probably just easier if I go into this and click delete and replace the one with a 2.
I mean, it also means that it auto updates on people's systems and stuff. So that's
Right.
probably why they did it. But it's also weird.
You can tell like sometimes when stuff gets messed up in our YouTube channels that I've been copying and pasting because I'll forget to delete out some of the old info
Right.
and replace it with the new info.
Yeah, there's stuff with like a bunch of the achievements are like based on stuff from Overwatch 1 that it's not like you can even do anymore.
Does that mean that if you have Overwatch 1 I know you can't play it anymore, but if you have an install of Overwatch 1 on your Xbox, and then you and then it's like I have auto update my games on or whatever. If there's a thing that happens like that, do you wake up one day and go to your Xbox and find out that your copy of Overwatch 1 is no longer there and Overwatch 2 is now sitting waiting in its place? That literally is what happens.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like Overwatch 1 is gone.
Yeah.
Like even if you didn't, like you turned off auto updates,
Yeah.
if you tried to launch Overwatch 1, it wouldn't work.
Right, because and Overwatch 2 is free to play. So it's not like oh, then everyone just got an upgrade for free. It's like, well, everyone gets this upgrade for free because the game is free to play. Like anybody can play Overwatch 2 from the very beginning.
As long as you have your phone number intact, yeah.
And if you were playing Overwatch 1, you start Overwatch 2 with everything like unlocked.
Right.
Which is nice.
Did they? So, because I've seen this happen sometimes between. Nintendo will do this a lot. If you played the last version of this game and you have saved data on your system and you put in the second game, you get cool thing because you've been around for a long time. Did they do that with Overwatch, where it's like you played Overwatch 1 and now you're in Overwatch 2?
Here's some bonus stuff.
Have a cool pair of soap shoes.
I don't know if they gave people who were... I mean, the big thing they gave to people who were part of Overwatch 1 was that when they started Overwatch 2, everything was unlocked.
Well, the first new hero was free.
Oh, okay.
And then also, now, because the Overwatch 2 launch had a lot of problems, because they had server problems, apparently they got DDoS'd a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
There's a thing where they were like, a couple of the heroes have some balance issues, like one of their...
Oh, is that why they took those off?
Yeah, so there's a thing where like two of the heroes had some balance issues where like or some glitches with their like the cooldown on their ultimate wasn't working the way it was supposed to or something. And so they're like, "Oh, we'll have to fix that." And somehow in the course of fixing that, it like disabled like half the heroes for everybody.
Wow.
And so they had to. They went back and like we didn't do a story on that because they fixed it. Yeah. But anyway, because of all of that stuff, they have done a thing where they're giving away some free stuff, some free cosmetics to people. I think they're doing like a couple of like double XP weekends.
Oh yeah. The we screwed up, so have some
free XP.
Free XP.
So come in here and play the game a lot, so you can actually earn some more.
Which now XP obviously is tied to the battle pass thing. So the more you have to that's in order to unlock stuff.
It's the equivalent to when you go to like I want to say fast food restaurant, you have a bad time and the manager comes out and it's like, have this coupon for a free ice cream cone next time you come in.
Now that is what you're supposed to do. Is like it's like I comp your meal and I give you something for the next time you come in.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. That's the equivalent when it comes to a game trying to do its launch and having its final public QA test and then screwing up and then everybody gets like an XP event.
Yeah. I mean, that's, I think, it's sort of cynical, but it's like, it's better than not doing that, I guess.
Yeah, it's not like, I want to say, it's, because this is going to be quite the thing, it's not that I don't want to talk about the story, because I'm completely fine with us talking about the story, but I also just want to get right out here, maybe it's the first time I've ever had to say this, but how fucking tedious I find stories like this. About being like, we have a game and we give you a way to make more XP in a battle pass, and I hear this all the time and I just get so tired of listening.
Welcome
to
the gaming news
shit.
cycle.
Just get so sick of this shit.
We cover a lot of multiplayer games online.
I don't play any of these games, and it's like in my the wrinkles in my brain are just kind of like, you don't have room to care about this.
Sure.
Like, it's good because in about 20 minutes I'm going to forget that we talked about this completely.
Yeah, so anytime there's a story on ChillPoint about online stuff, Beej definitely didn't write it.
Yeah, by the way, Beej read this story on ChillPoint.
Yeah, I did.
Ooh, clues.
He may not have been the one to write this story.
No, maybe, possibly. Could be.
Well, let's move on to the next one then.
What is our next story?
Talking about Ark Survival Evolved.
Oh, yeah.
This thing about how much you get paid for putting your game on, like, Game Pass or PlayStation Plus, and what's funny about this is it's sort of centered around this idea. So the first part of the information that we got was that Wildcard, the developers for Ark Survival Evolved, got a lot more money from Sony for 5 weeks. They got $3.5 million from Sony to have their game on Game Pass on PlayStation Plus for 5 weeks. They got $2.5 million from Microsoft to have their game on Game Pass for 6 months.
Right. So like 26 weeks.
Yeah.
Just to make it equivalent in your heads.
Yeah. So, but PlayStation, this was for PlayStation Plus?
Yeah. So
that would have been like a free download that anybody who had taken would have permanently as long as they kept their subscription up.
Yes.
Whereas Game Pass, eventually that game might just come off the service completely.
That's true. Game Pass games do disappear after a while.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but the end and then this sort of ties in with this thing we were talking about, the Call of Duty thing, and with Call of Duty going over to Microsoft, and because of course we've talked about this before that there's been some words between Microsoft and Sony about this this merger, because obviously one of the things that Sony is concerned about is that games that are very popular games from Blizzard and Activision on the PlayStation are going to become Xbox exclusive when Xbox buys Blizzard Activision, or Microsoft buys Blizzard Activision, and Microsoft is being very like, no, that'll never look. We're committing to whatever 2 years or 3 years, and we're going to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
And because of course they need to convince regulators that they're not going to operate in a monopolish manner.
Yeah.
And part of this, and so they had this argument to the UK Competition and Markets Authority, saying that if even if they did do that, if every player who currently plays Call of Duty on PlayStation moved over to Xbox, even then,
Sony's player base.
The Sony player base would be significantly larger than the Xbox player base.
Yeah, I mean, we'll draw the thing in being that it's like, if all of those players, they're saying that if all those people just because they play Call of Duty, left the PlayStation platform for Xbox and didn't have anything else they played on PlayStation,
right?
Then they're saying that if they moved over completely to Xbox, Sony still has way larger player base than we do. I love
stories like this because it's obviously most of the time when big companies are making public statements, it's directed towards the general public or their investors.
Yeah.
And they always want to big themselves up as much as possible.
Yes, absolutely.
Whereas this is the opposite. They're like, no. In fact, hardly anyone actually plays Call of Duty.
I'm just a little guy.
Yeah,
and I'm just over here.
literally Xbox. Like, we've sold maybe 5 Xboxes, and it's such a small market share.
Yeah.
We really we're really doing very poorly. So us buying Blizzard Activision won't affect really anything in the market because we're pathetic and terrible.
And who would want to play anything?
Nobody. Yeah,
nobody
Xbox,
wants to buy an Xbox.
Technologically, the Xbox is several generations behind.
Yeah,
I mean,
have you seen how big Goliath is?
Yeah,
he's so big.
We're so bad.
To me, it's funny too because
we all have PlayStations at home. They're better.
The current meta has flipped because it used to be that PlayStation 3 ain't got no games, and now it's PlayStation 5 games ain't got no consoles. Like, that's the way it is now, right? That it's like, oh, but nobody can buy any of our consoles, and it's like, and Sony should be using that as the thing. Is like, but nobody will ever, everyone moves over to Xbox, no one will ever play PS5 because there are no PS5s in the market. We never made a PS5, and we only have been advertising them and selling games from them, but we've never made a console for them.
And then, of course, you have the argument on the other side from PlayStation where they want to be like, no. Call of Duty is the only good game on PlayStation. If
yeah.
you take this away from us,
We got
we
nothing.
have nothing.
Do you not see all those poor console-less PlayStation 5 games that cannot be sold? We're rescuing them, bringing them to our system.
Exactly.
And meanwhile, Nintendo's off in the corner doing mushrooms.
Yeah. Nintendo's
some
just
kind,
not
yeah.
involved with the whole thing. So I don't know. I love it when the when the sort of high level public statements by companies directly interfere with their actual like what they're trying what they would like the market to think, but because they have to change, they have to sort of change perceptions.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But it's interesting though too, because like Kathleen says, what does this actually tell us? Probably nothing in the large scheme of things, but it is illustrative of a point that Sony is willing to put out a lot of money for less time to make a thing available, which means that for what you can infer from that is like their pockets are pretty deep to be able to do that. And Xbox saying like, we will give you less money and you will have to give us your thing for a longer time. And maybe at the end of that 6 months, that game isn't available anymore. But it's like our pockets aren't quite as deep because we are making maybe also we're making more commitments in more different areas than Sony is making, and so we're spreading a lot more money around a lot different areas.
I want to point out that if it's the PlayStation Plus game that you're selling,
You get to keep it.
you get to keep it as long as you're
So-
keeping your subscription.
yeah, it is a slightly different
And
contract.
Game Pass is like
You get
as
it for
long
6
as-
months and
then
that's it.
It's probably even off the thing at that point.
Yeah.
And so for Sony to put that money out there is like saying these people aren't going to pay for that game ever again because they've purchased it.
Yeah.
But it will keep them on our system, so maybe we make more money off of that.
The other thing I think is interesting too, and this is now going to be a pivot, is that means that Arc, that Studio Wildcard, made $6 million US off of their game that we know of, right?
From these things.
But from these things, is like we know absolutely that Arc earned them $6 million, and off of in this way. But that surely wasn't the only money they made off of Arc. They probably made a lot more money off of it because
And
people
that's
just
like
buying it outright.
it's been on Game Pass for like 3 years.
Right.
That 2.5 million was just for the last 6 months.
Okay, so there's this sense that I've had, because I look at Apple Arcade and think to myself, I'm like, how are these 120 different games actually making money off of this service? Because I know maybe one person who actually has Apple Arcade, and it's like a $5 a month subscription thing to have access to that. And I'm like, but these subscription services are earning, because you never hear of an indie person like getting out there and being like, yo, that sucked, I never want to do that again, we made no money, we could have made way more money if we didn't.
No, they
like,
do well.
they
on
make
these things
they
usually.
do well off of that stuff.
It's not like they're getting a cut of the $5 a month.
They're just getting paid.
They're just getting it up front.
It's
Yeah.
generally a contract thing. Like we had a story several months ago about how people get paid to have their games given away for free on the Epic Games Store.
Yeah.
And how that is very much not resulted in Epic getting more money,
Yeah.
right? Like, so for every company that's doing this, for them it's a thing of where we think we're investing money here, which will help provide value to the service and get people to join it.
And you know that like because just to cherry pick one, Threes, which has been on iOS and Android for years and years and years and years and years, for I guess Asher to turn around, if he's the one making the decision on this, to turn around and just be like, you know what, Apple Arcade, I'll sign your thing to put Threes into Apple Arcade specifically to be a part of that. You give me money for this. That's the thing where you can look at how much money did I make on this one game for years and years and years, and then for it still to be such a good game, for Apple to say, but we want to be part of Apple Arcade now, and to be like, yeah, you know what, I've probably sold all the copies I'm going to sell, and you're going to give me more money on top of that, and that money might not be as much as you did, or it might be as much as you did, or it might be more than what you did.
It's definitely guaranteed money.
And it's guaranteed
right?
money you get immediately, and I'm like, that's kind of an interesting calculus you get to make after you've had a game on the platform for a while, to be like, I know what I earned on this game and what I could possibly earn going forward. I can see what the tail looks like.
and it's like for stuff like the Epic Games Store, sometimes, especially indie developers can get some heat for
Exclusivity.
for going exclusive on the Epic Games Store, but the possibility of however many sales on Steam versus Epic just driving a dump truck full of money up to your house is hard to ignore.
Yeah, to know if I'm a single developer and I'm like, Epic's just saying I'm going to give you $100,000 so I can make this available. It's like, I got bills to pay.
And then it's exclusive, it's exclusive for 6 months or a year or whatever.
Let's not forget, too, there were reports that Epic was dumping money on your lawn, but also doing the stick approach after the carrot of, well, if you won't be exclusive on our platform, you can't be on our platform at all.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So,
we're not that interested in having you on our platform at all. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's
again,
generally
maybe that
more of a
doesn't
thing
matter.
I get more angry about, rather than a dev being like, I'm going to be exclusive to a platform for a little while. Because exclusivity deals, especially for indies and third parties and such, tend to be time limited these days.
And so it sounds like, coming back to Arc again, it's like, this isn't even exclusivity. This is just literally make this available as part of our platform. Yeah.
I will. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, I would like to say I saw some comments thing. The opinions of Kathleen do not necessarily reflect those of ChillPoint LLC in the sense that she said that Arc is a mid-tier game at best.
Yeah. So that's actually what I was going to bring up, because I saw a couple comments.
I don't think Kathleen's actually played Arc at all.
One that I played, I think, a demo and it didn't grab me. But like the one comment was very much like, very much in jest of like, oh, you don't think highly of a game that I think highly of.
Yeah.
The other one said that they disagreed with it being mid-tier, but they did not say whether or not it was top tier or trash tier.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
who
That's
knows?
True. I mean, like, I haven't really played it. I think James and I played it for 18 games and counting once, but
Games of Chance or
or
something.
Games of Chance, yeah.
I
But
could see
for
that.
what it's worth, I believe it's quite well rated on like Steam. But
I know it's a game people like. That's about it.
I would love see Gatfiller saying, "Oh, the expressed opinions disclaimer." And I'm like, man, I'd love to start running those at the beginning of every episode. That's just basically and just having. It would be very funny to have one just pop up that has you reading and being like, the expressed opinions of the presenters on ChillPoint couldn't possibly be held by anybody else in the world. So don't take take everything with the biggest grain of salt.
I can do that. I can do the tiny font print too if you want, with like some copyright weird.
No, I want
protections and
to be
stuff.
like the ones for Warner Brothers cartoons, being like, this reflected the culture at the time. Last night when they wrote this.
Speaking of opinions that other people might not share, there's a Beach of the story about Pokemon Go Fest.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know what opinion was being established here, Paul.
I feel like this story was like a low key like subtweet at me.
I used your joke.
Well, you used my joke and then did the rest of the story trying to explain why it didn't make sense.
Correct.
But also kind of failed at that. I felt like.
Okay,
So-
can I know what was your joke?
So my joke was that the Pokemon Go Fest, they announced that 1.75 billion Pokemon have been caught,
Okay.
which Pokemon Go Fest is like one day in 3 places in the world.
Was it only one day?
It's like, or it's a weekend.
I thought it was a weekend. or
Sometimes it's a
something.
weekend. It depends on the event.
I think this one was a weekend. Anyway.
And so my joke on that was, it's a good thing the Pokemon aren't real, otherwise we would have hunted them to extinction. Because apparently we were catching 1.75 billion in a weekend.
So what happened here is, I know you're not on Twitter, Paul,
Yeah.
but Paul made a tweet that was like, man, if they did this thing, we would have hunted everything to extinction. And then Beach came in, just be like, oh yeah, let me tweet some statistics at you.
So
I got
Beach's response to that seemed to be that it's okay to hunt things to extinction. Like,
Yep.
it's okay if we hunt as many birds as we want, because there are lots of birds.
There sure are. We're never
so,
going to run out.
So it's okay. it's okay if birds go extinct, because there's a lot of birds.
Yeah.
And it's okay if insects go extinct because there's a lot of insects.
So
Please,
Also,
yes.
the insect you're talking about, there's 10
Quintillion.
quintillion insects in the world.
Yes.
Those that's like, we're going from like whatever, some sort of giant beetles to, microscopic little gnats.
Yes.
Right? Caterpie is like this big.
Yeah, it kind
There
of...
aren't 10 quintillion of things that big in
Could
the
you
world.
imagine? It would definitely foil the square cube law, I'm sure. It probably already does.
Anyway,
Don't forget, though, to point out the fact that when I wrote this thing that night, that it was late enough that I was like, there's how many humans on the planet again? A trillion?
trillion?
did
That's
you not
probably the
Google
right
it?
amount.
You just wrote a number?
Because I was like, I think that's right. Yeah, okay. I know that we have like we're into the trillions in terms of a budget, so sure, 8 trillion people on the planet, whatever, I'll do that. And then when we read it, Paul and Kathleen were like, that's very funny. Did you...
it's like,
Wait.
we're assuming that's a joke, right?
Yeah, and I'm like, what do you mean it's a joke? And it's like 8 billion beach. I'm like, oh shit, yeah, I did write trillion. I was not thinking straight. Like, you should leave it in. It's funny. I'm like, no, change it. Wait, no, I should actually just put in a fake number, because then that way I won't get a bunch of shitheads in the comments being like, why'd you say 8 trillion people on the planet? That's demonstrably untrue, and you're trying to make a factual point. And I'm like, yeah, I need to be...
Are you?
I need to be the shithead.
Yeah,
Are you? Like, whenever you do a
What?
story, especially one like
People
this.
will think I'm being serious.
When people are like, when you say you're trying to prove a point, I just look at him like, are you?
it's like, what
Are you
factual
really?
point are you trying to make?
Because
Yeah.
the point you seem to be making is, I guess I have to write a news story and I hate
There's
everything.
like probably another 8 sentences I could have ground out of this if I start talking about the oceans, because it's like, we don't know what's in the ocean, like, and that's 70% of the planet, and I'm just kind of like,
You wanna
we
stay
could
away from
talk
the
about the
ocean.
ocean. I'm like, I need
There
to
are
stay
dark
away from
things
the
in the
ocean
ocean.
because
But- But I just... Your argument is that it's okay to kill as many animals as you want because there'll always be more animals, and
Well-
all animals are basically the same.
capture, but yes,
Okay, all right. So Pokemon
and
Go.
forced to fight each other until they faint.
Pokemon
but
Go. 1.75 billion
which is a lot.
Pokemon get caught.
Yeah.
You know what happens to Pokemon you release in Pokemon Go, right?
No,
They get turned into candy. They're
Dude,
dead.
that does not sound like releasing.
no, it doesn't. Does it? It sounds like transmutation. is
Look,
what it
death
sounds.
is a type of release.
It sounds.
Yeah.
Got him.
Christ! Wow! Oh my God!
Just as a pure, like
I'm so proud of myself.
This is a pure. Yeah.
as apart from the other stuff, that actual stat of like 1.75 billion Pokemon were caught
Yeah.
over the course of the Pokemon, like, that is a legitimately
Huge number.
mind-blowing. Like,
Well-
how many people are playing Pokemon Go right now?
Well, and even on the
Over
weekend,
100 million?
Was it that you had to participate in the fest, or that you just had to play Pokemon Go?
So it
Who
depends.
knows how they're actually
Generally,
checking it, but-
the festivals have there are areas, like specific geolocations,
Yeah, there's
where
like-
you will pay for a ticket to get into an event.
Right.
Sometimes you pay for a digital ticket that lets you unlock a specific thing in the game, so it doesn't matter. Sometimes they correspond both. I haven't read about this event, so I don't know which they chose.
Okay.
If I recall, this particular event was big on the actual physical location. They were they're sort of trying to get back to getting
Yeah,
people
I could see
together.
that.
So I believe there were three. There was like
3 cities.
Tokyo, or there was like 3 different cities around the world where they were doing stuff.
Usually when they do a geotagged only event, I'm used to seeing the stories about how everything was really bad because so many people showed up, the internet doesn't work.
And it killed the
And
Wi-Fi, or
kill
killed the cell
stuff,
network.
so
But it's
people
like
couldn't do the things.
when that happened that first year, it was like they expected to have like maybe 10,000 people show up, and then 100,000 people showed up. Like, it was something like a ridiculous amount of people that got involved. And
Sure.
so in this case, yeah, if you think that 100,000 or maybe 500,000 people played Pokemon Go at the fest, and they're just counting the people who were caught who were doing the fest, 500,000 people, even 1 million people catching 1.75 billion Pokemon means that 1 million people would have had to have caught caught 1,000 each just to crack 1 billion.
Exactly. Like that seems totally wonky.
Yeah, I'm
No,
like,
that seems on
they must have
par.
had way more people
If they
playing.
had a whole day or they had a whole weekend, that's not.
To catch 1,000 in a weekend seems like a
Have you
lot.
seen what people do to catch Pokemon during the 3 hours of a community day?
Yeah, you have the Uncle Pokemon who has like 45
Yeah,
different
no, like
Android
1,000
phones.
over 2 days does not seem that.
But that's each,
weird
right?
to
That's
me.
average.
Yeah.
Iris of Ether says half the day was in a specific park, the other half was wherever you wanted, and they cycled people over 3 days. Okay.
I don't know if you can catch 1,000 Pokemon in the video games in 3 days.
Sure.
Yeah.
Find that very hard to believe.
I've seen
A few
determined
hundred I could
gamers.
get.
This is not, especially if you pay for something and you have a limited amount of time.
Well, anyway.
I think that's. I mean, they already
I
proved
mean, clearly
it's doable.
clearly it's possible, but it is impressive.
Yeah.
In other news, another Pokemon news, might as well just quickly talk about the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, the new info, the new trailer
Okay,
with
how
the
do you
electric gym
Leader.
How do you pronounce her name?
Nanjamo.
Because you were listening to the Japanese, right?
Yeah. Nanjamo.
I was assuming. I mean, I assumed it was Iono.
I assumed Iono
Iono. That would make sense.
because electric ion.
Right, that would make sense.
I have seen people in the comments, 2 comments right beside each other. One says it's pronounced to rhyme with I dunno, and somebody's like, it's pronounced Iono. And I'm kind of like, oh, cool. Those 2 don't rhyme. So well done, the 2 of you who think that you knew how it was pronounced. I'm like, you solved nothing. Her name was Nanjamo because she said her name in the thing, and that's what I'm saying until I hear the English voice, and then I'll know how to pronounce it.
I think that's fine. But that,
Yeah.
like that's why I'm pointing out that's where you got that from.
Yeah.
You weren't making up some other anime
No,
reference.
No, and she has shark teeth.
You said squid teeth.
Squid teeth, sorry. She has
yeah.
squid teeth.
I would say she probably has closer to shark teeth than
yeah.
squid teeth.
Mm-hmm. I mean, when I kept watching it over and over, I was like, I kept seeing a centered tooth. And I'm like, other than Tom Cruise, the only other person in the world who has that is Inklings from Splatoon. So I'm like, so that's like squid teeth to me. That's that whole thing. I was like, you have squid teeth, congratulations.
I mean, I'm up for having a streamer influencer styled Pokemon gym leader.
Yeah.
Because that sounds like something with good flavor for the game.
I agree.
Which means she's likely going to show up on TV screens and stuff, maybe in other parts of the world.
Yeah.
Like, because they had Pokemon Radio in other games.
Yeah,
so
I
I'm
guess this
assuming,
is sort of an adapted form of that.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty cool. I do take a little bit of issue with them doing the thing of like, who's my partner Pokemon? And they show an outline of like a Pikachu.
Yeah.
They show an outline of what is clearly a Pikachu.
Which,
Yeah.
okay, sure. And then today
Which
they
is
were
an
like,
electric
oh,
Pokemon. So
it's
it's like,
Belly
okay.
Bolt. And I'm like, couldn't you have given us the outline of the Pokemon we've never seen before? I just feel
that'd have been
a
good.
little,
Yeah.
a little
You
cheated.
idiots! You didn't guess Belly Bolt.
Because
The
people
Pokemon-
would have been like, is that Wobbuffet? Like, what the fuck
Well,
is
yeah,
that?
and I feel a little cheated that I can't possibly predict what her partner Pokemon is at all when I don't even know its existence.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if they'd at least put an outline, I'd be like, oh, okay, they're doing this for a Pokemon reveal. I could deal with.
Yeah.
Also on the like in that video, there's a thing where like she's like, guess what my Pokemon is, and then she like brings up her chat.
Mm-hmm.
Which there should have been way more like emotes and
I
things
think-
being like
I really
I
love
think it
her.
might have been like a Tumblr ask or a Twitter ask to be like, because it didn't move at all, right? It just kind of sat there, and I'm like,
yeah, it
there's
should be
no-
going way faster.
You should be going. Yeah, our chat's going way faster than hers was. Like,
I'm used to my chat not going.
and
very
people
quickly.
being like, who is this girl? Or
I mean,
bunch of other
I
random
really
stuff.
loved that she showed
what
off.
game are you playing?
that,
Can you play some Fortnite?
I really loved that she showed off that you can use Pokemon as hair accessories.
Are those Pokemon as hair accessories, or are they just like sitting on her head?
Now,
I mean, they look like Magnemites.
They are okay. So that's the thing. They look like
They kind of
Magnemites.
came out and they moved around.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
shifted
And
and
also,
stuff.
apparently, I was watching the trailer and I was reading what she was saying, and it sounded like she was saying like, "No, they're just my hair clips." She said at one point, and I'm like, "So are they actual Magnemites that you have custom color ones that actually hang out with you, and that's very cool?" Or
And
do you have autonomous hair clips that look like Magnemites that do shit?
I mean, both are possible.
Right? Maybe they're not. Maybe they're not.
Maybe she's, or maybe they're just like trained Magnemites.
Right.
I mean,
Trained to sit on her head.
And
I
at
would say
what
they're probably
point?
not Magnemites proper, but if they are Pokemon, maybe they are part of that evolutionary line.
And then it starts to make you think like, at what point does a weird robot Pokemon start being a Pokemon and therefore have some sort of like autonomy and sentience versus just being a robot you created that happens to look
Okay.
like the real thing?
All right.
I mean, in the world of Pokemon, everything's a Pokemon.
Right.
For one thing, okay, you could have robots in Pokemon that are just robots and are not actual Pokemon.
Are there?
Because if you go by the definition of life, and I'm just going to crib a bunch of stuff I've heard on Star Trek.
Sure.
The idea that something can like procreate is something Pokemon can do.
Yes.
And even the robot style electric Pokemon can procreate on their own.
Right.
It's true.
Let's not even ask how, but they can.
With a Ditto at least. In
With-
a daycare
with-
center with an old man and an old lady who claim they don't watch.
With an egg. And they end up with an egg.
Everybody's born from
No-
eggs.
And nobody knows how the egg shows up.
No.
But it does.
Look, they're very polite and they don't watch, or so they claim.
So, this has been very edifying.
Actually, one further question. Her outfit,
Yeah.
What's wrong with her outfit?
where she's got the like sweet jacket.
The
Yeah,
giant
that jacket
coat.
is awesome.
So what I'm curious about is that are they referencing a real like Japanese like fashion thing? Like, are there any people wearing jackets like that in the real world?
They might be in Harajuku.
Or did they just make it up?
There is a
Because it seems I just would like to see a real person wearing a jacket like that. I think it would be cool.
there is a trope that putting, because for one thing, there's lots of characters, there's lots of anime and manga characters. A lot of time, ghosts tend to get drawn with that, with like clothing that's too long for them, so that the like
Right.
'Cause then the
Jiangxi
sleeves
especially
can go
too,
in
right?
a specific way.
So they'll have Jiangxi that have like the things will go over the whatever, and so that kind of gets picked up like that. But there's just random characters that will generally have as a cute trope that they're wearing clothing that's too large for them. But that'll usually just be like, I have a cardigan on, but the cardigan's just a little too long and it kind of hangs over my hands.
Right.
This
It's-
thing of a huge coat is not as usual.
The arms aren't so much. It's the way that the head hole is like
Yeah.
the entire
the neckline.
Yeah.
the neck. It's like the head. Yeah, it's like the entire
There,
thing.
I've seen all kinds of hoodies that have that kind of a neckline. They're very fashion forward.
Right. Yeah. I was just like, how does I'm
It
just,
doesn't even
I'm-
sit on her shoulders, right? Like it's so far. outside her shoulders.
I just think it's I think it would be a cool thing to actually see like a real person try to
Well-
and like how to because it would have to be made out of. You have to be very careful about what material it's made out of because it has to be like completely sort of self-supporting.
Yeah, you have
It's
to
gonna
bone it.
It's gonna have to just fit you quite like very particularly. in
Yeah,
order to do that.
ironically, it has to be quite well fitted
Yeah.
in order to be that
Yeah.
to be able to wear something that unfitted.
Yeah,
Do you notice the color of her hair?
it was cotton candy colored.
Pink and blue.
Yeah, yeah.
With yeah.
Lots of pink and lots of light pastel pink and pastel blue alternating within it. So
Yeah.
I'm sure she's going to be a trans icon.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I think she seems like she'll be a fun character. And I'm glad she'll probably haven't said that she'll only show up in one copy of the game, so I assume it won't matter what copy I need to get her
Yeah.
to be my best friend.
Sorry, when you said in she won't just show up in one copy of the game, briefly I thought, wait, they're going to actually just lean on her to be like in all the future Pokemon games as well? And I'm like, I mean, why
Okay,
not?
so
But-
no, like
I get it,
Scarlet
yeah.
and Violet, they have
two different professors.
two different professors
Yeah.
and like a couple different things to differentiate them a little bit, but also one is supposed to be on the theme of the past and one's supposed to be on the theme of the future. And where
Right.
would you put a streamer?
In the Violet, in the future.
Yeah.
That's where you'd put them, right? Yeah. So to have a streamer be a part of the past, it wouldn't work quite as well. But it sounds like if she's supposed to be in the entire... Because it's like she's a gym leader. If they were making two completely separate games, one in the past, one in the future, it means are you splitting all your gym leaders too?
Yeah, I mean they could.
Okay.
In Sword and Shield, each game has one unique gym leader from the other. I don't. but usually they're very clear about that, so I assume she's in both.
The Maricat, you're looking for Nanjamo or Iono, Iono, the brand new announced gym leader, electric gym leader for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet.
Because I googled this earlier. If you just Google Iono and gym leader, you will find it.
Yeah.
And
Great look, though.
then
Great character design.
Oh yeah, it's perfect.
finally,
Squid teeth and all.
the it's important when when you're making software or stuff. The best software is made by people who are really passionate
I just remember
about
what
what
the
they're
story
making.
was about.
Yes.
People who are really excited to work on their stuff. But what do you do if you are making software that doesn't make your employees so passionate and excited?
Well, maybe they just haven't really played with it enough. So maybe if I tell them they have to, once a week at least, and learn to love it, they will. Maybe human beings are wired that way.
Maybe if you force them to love it, they will in turn become passionate about the project and start producing better work.
I literally paused during the story when I was editing it.
Yeah.
And just got very angry.
Yeah.
So we're talking here about Horizon Worlds, Meta's VR platform, which is not going well.
Internally.
Yeah, there's been a couple of leaked memos to The Verge from the Metaverse VP, and certain things like saying everyone in this organization should make it their mission to fall in love with Horizon Worlds. Just because it's confusing and buggy, and we aren't going to fix that. Also. What is it? The full quote was something like
The shoulder shot?
it's something like you have to realize we realize that we are working on a product that hasn't found a
reason to exist.
yeah it
Doesn't have a business case.
doesn't have yet. And so, if you're working on Horizon, you're going to have to fully embrace ambiguity and change.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing. God, I have so many things. So let's just pick the first thing.
Let's just start one at a time.
Sometimes, I'm going to give him so much benefit of the doubt, but it's like sometimes when you are designing a big platform, you have to say, we have a feeling this is going to be something that's useful, and we need to find a way to make this work, and that's why you dog food it, right? That's why you make everybody in the company have to use the thing to see how it's going to work.
That term is actually used in this article, talking about it's like that that they there's just not enough people at Meta eating dog food is the problem.
Yeah. If you're not familiar with the idea of eating your own dog food, it's that the dog food company makes dog food, and it's like, well, if you want dogs to be able to eat it, then our dogs, if you own a dog, then you should be feeding it your own dog food to find out if your dog likes it or not. And if the dog won't eat the dog food, then we shouldn't be making this because dogs don't want to eat the dog food. And it's the same idea of you have to eat your own dog food at the company you work at, or else why are you even making the thing in the first place?
What if your employees don't want to play it, then why aren't you making it better?
And that's the thing, right? Is I'm like, the only way you can get a thing to improve a lot of times is to have people actually say, here are the problems with it, and let's fix the thing. But Vishal Shah, the Metaverse VP, who, let's be honest, this is what his paycheck depends on, coming out and being like, no, get in there and use it, and no, we aren't going to change anything right away, or maybe we won't change the things that you think we should change. I'm like, that's not helping people come to terms with how the thing works. Your position should be, we need you to get in there and use it so you can start telling us what doesn't work about the thing that is not working properly.
Yeah, I can even go along with the idea of we would like people to use this once a week, especially while we're making changes to it, to see if it's improving, and give me a reason as to why I should actually want to do it once a week, other than just saying,
and
buckle up.
And it's like, and if for instance, like one of the things, for instance, is that they're really trying to push people to teams to like have their like weekly meetings
Yeah.
in the VR space,
Sure.
or at least have one meeting a week in the VR space.
Yeah.
right?
Just to be able to be using it. Okay, I
Right.
get that.
But it's the thing where it's like, you know, the problem is that people are not having their meetings in the VR space.
Yeah.
Right. The solution to that is figuring out why that is and solving that, not mandating that people.
Yeah, it's like if you know
Have
they're
their
not,
meetings.
if you know they're not using it, then you should be looking at, well, why don't they want to use it? And probably the reasons, like the biggest reason is friction.
Yeah.
That's always the biggest reason to why somebody won't want to change or won't want to do anything different. It's that if the friction of using Horizon Worlds internally in the company, where you might have the best builds of it, is just too much for people. It's like, well, they don't even have VR helmets, or they're not even setting up their VR helmets or whatever. It's like, right, if they're not doing any of that, then you should identify those points of friction. And it shouldn't be that it's like, well, we have to force them to set up their VR helmets. I'm like, no, maybe what you need to do is find a way to make the onboarding so appealing that they will then want to set them up, or that make them so that getting their VR helmets set up is so much easier to do than you're making it sound.
But if it's literally stated, we understand it's buggy, you're not getting any fixes.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with, oh gee, nobody wants to turn on a VR helmet.
Yeah.
Necessarily.
Yeah, and I mean, we have, like, I feel some sympathy because obviously in our company, we have technology that we're relying upon to do all of our production and to do all of the video editing and to do all of like the tracking of stuff. And it's like, and a lot of times people aren't utilizing that stuff within the company, but we don't make a lot of that stuff within the company. We're relying upon outside tools to do it. And it's frustrating because we're like, right, if we can be using those tools more, and we can be kind of, we need to be encouraging people. So you need to be making entries into our databases. You need to be doing this kind of stuff because it's important for us to have the information so that we can rely upon it to be making stuff going forward. It's like all of this stuff is important, and we don't have a lot of control out of how to onboard a lot of that stuff. So it's like you just have to use the tool the way that it is because we don't have much we can change about it.
And again, to me, it's all about tone. I want everybody in the company to be using this product at least once a week because we make this product and we need to.
Yeah.
Fine. That's part of my job now.
Yeah.
You have to make it your mission to love this product.
Yeah.
And you better like it regardless of nothing we're going to do about it. No.
Like,
Yeah,
Nobody gets to tell me how I
You
feel.
can't
Yeah.
mandate people become passionate
Yeah.
about a project.
and
Yeah.
like the Colbert did, I'm like, this is a big deal that people are loving making fun of because Colbert did a bit on this. They even had their animators make an animated section in it. It's very funny.
probably look just as good.
Yeah, and so, but part of the thing they had with this was the whole make Mark happy thing. There's a whole acronym in the company, MMH, where it's like everything is, if there are things in the company that exist and you don't know why, and somebody just sends you an MMH when you ask about it, it's like, oh, this product exists because it makes Mark happy.
Sure.
That's the only reason why this exists. And Horizon Worlds has that kind of idea of when there's a person at the top of the company who says, I want this, and everyone's like, it doesn't make any sense for us to be developing this, and it's not solving any problems, and it's not doing anything, and most people in the company don't like doing this. And it's like, yes, but it makes Mark happy. It makes people want to do things less because they're like, I'm doing this completely fucking pointless exercise because only the CEO wants to do this.
If you're a person that people actually want to make happy, they might be fine with that.
Yeah.
And if you
He doesn't strike me as that kind of person.
A proven record of like the things that I want are smart ideas for this business.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw a great Twitter post or something. Somebody was like, you know, to all those like indie developers working out there, it's it's kind of gratifying to see that with their functionally unlimited resources, this is what Meta came up with.
Yeah.
As opposed to like Linden Labs, who's been made Second Life 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And is more interesting, looks better, and is actually like a thriving, cool community.
Like I saw the pictures of PlayStation Home, which was PS3 or PS4?
3, I think.
I don't
3.
know.
Because it was like, we have this whole area that you can walk around in, and it looks amazing, and it actually looks Like people were like, yeah, I want to decorate my little PlayStation Home thing and do stuff, and not a lot of people used it, but
it wasn't VR.
Yeah.
And it was also kind of dumb, but
yeah.
it wasn't any more dumb. It was dumb because it actually was kind of a silly idea.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
you every project that especially like maybe doesn't seem like a good idea has to have somebody who's backing it, right? Who's trying to make it happen. And there'll be at least one, because without them, that project would have gone away.
Yeah.
Regardless if it's a CEO or somebody else who just has that kind of authority. And you can see that in certain companies where someone will start a project and they're the only one backing it, and then they move on to a different company, and then that project just dies within the company because there is no one there. But it's just like, I've seen so many interviews where something turns out really good later.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Where that person will say, oh, well, I had to have things my way, and because I did, it turned out awesome.
Yeah.
But the story we're looking at is somebody had to have some things their way, and boy, does it not look good.
That's the old survivor bias thing, right? Where it's like, you don't, there's not a lot of interviews that people was like, I had to have this my way, and my way was a dumb idea, and nobody ever used the system.
I mean, not from the person themselves. No, that's something you'd get from like somebody who worked under them.
I've had several instances where it's like I'm the guy who's in charge, and I say I want to have this thing made, and I get pushback from people who are who have to make this thing for me, and they're like, I don't like this, or I don't think it's going to be a good idea, or whatever. I'm like, I just want you to make it. Just show me what you can do with it. Please make it. We will identify whether or not it's good once I see it, because in my brain it looks great, but I need to see it on paper. I need to see it in front of me, that kind of idea. And you get a lot of pushback and a lot of pushback. And I'm like, just stop with the pushback. Please just make the thing, and then we'll evaluate it, and I'll be more than happy to be honest about it. But a lot of times when I start getting pushback on something, like a lot of pushback on stuff like that, I will dig in my heels and be like, I don't give a good goddamn whether you think it's a good idea or not. We're making it now.
I think
and I'm like, that's not a positive way to act, but it is a human way to act.
There is room for somebody who's working on a thing to point out, hey, this might not work the way you want it to, or do whatever. Showing off actual visuals and doing that work is one thing, but at the end of the day, even when there are like 16, 20 of us, you still have to have somebody who makes a call on something for direction things will go in, because we all kind of, like a herd of cats, go into our own things and ignore things and do stuff, and we as a group would never get anything done if
I mean you need
somebody didn't make a call at some point.
You need direction. Any group of people need some sort of thing to sort of pull in the right direction, but
by and
you
large,
can complain about the client all you want. Maybe don't do it publicly. Your livelihood will be on the line there. But at the end of the day, the client is the client.
Yeah, I think a lot of these metaverse things, like Meta being out there and saying, here's our metaverse thing, gives everyone a great opportunity to make fun of this. And then hearing the internal memos being like, people at Meta don't want to build Meta. Why? Because people at Meta wanted to build Facebook. That's what they wanted to. They joined Facebook to work on Facebook because they were like, I'm very excited about the idea of getting paid a lot of money to make people's lives miserable. I'm very excited about that. I don't want to do. I have to think that's the fucking reason, because I don't know why else. He's like, I'm willing to take all that money. So
we know some people who work at Facebook.
I have to assume that's the reason for working there. It's like, I like the money, so I'm going to keep working there.
Okay, sure, but I never assume the additional reason of I want to make other people's lives miserable, so I want to work there.
But anyway, beyond that, me having a goof, but beyond that, it's like, working on the metaverse, it's like, there's a lot of, like, the Snow Crash idea of when you read Neil Stephenson's Snow Crash and you see what his idea of the metaverse was, and getting an idea of what a lot of cyberspace stuff is from like when people were doing it in fiction, it's very seamless in a lot of ways, so that you can just kind of get in and do stuff. And I'm like, I think that's what we all want that to be, is to just be like, I want this to be an other space where I can just kind of plug in and do a thing and be done with stuff. But then a lot of the times I hear talking about it, it's like, yeah, you can go shopping, then you'll be able to walk down the thing in Walmart, and I'm like, I don't want to sit for 2 hours in VR and walk through my grocery store and put broccoli into a thing and put this into a thing and like look for deals and do whatever and all that kind of stuff, and then wait for that to show up at my house or then have to go pick it up, like that kind of thing. It's like I want to take 20 minutes and look at a list of the stuff that I want to buy that I currently do on my app and go, want that, 2 of these, 3 of these, that, great, I'm done in 20 minutes, I'll go pick it up tomorrow, and have my shopping be done. And a lot of these ideas are like, won't it be great to just walk around and do this and do that and whatever? I'm like, you are coming from a very specific mindset of what you think people want to do with their spare time. And shopping at Walmart is maybe not that thing for a lot of people. There's a lot of things about, I want to browse clothing and I want to do this and I want to do that. I'm like, sure, I know that exists, but like, I don't want to try on a shirt in VR and see how I look because I know it's not going to fit right when it shows up at my house. Like... There's those kind of elements. I'm like, I don't think those are the elements that we think are going to be the best elements.
Fun fact, you can tell somebody's age range based on when they're talking about the metaverse, whether or not they reference the book Snow Crash or whether they reference the book Ready Player One.
Yeah. I mean, I was...
Or Neuromancer.
Neuromancer. It's like, we're going to go that hard. So...
Yeah. What's it going to be?
Sorry, there's so many conversations that go on in the video game space about what the metaverse is, and the older crowd in that grouping always references Snow Crash, and people who are definitely like a little skew younger, always Ready Player One. They're always talking about Ready Player One.
And by and large, though, everyone's idea of what the metaverse, like cyberspace or whatever, always comes down to is it's a place that I want to hang out and enjoy myself. It's almost never a place of, this is where I want to go to work.
I feel like people start referencing Ready Player One as they get more bitter and sort of and more cynical about what a metaverse thing will be.
I think because the idea is typically like this place allows you to do something fantastical.
Yeah.
And therefore, why would you want that to be mundane and going to work? But from a work from home experience of go and take your meetings in a VR setting, that might not be so bad. I mean, I didn't really like Supergirl's interpretation of it. Everybody's doing haunted house things. I mean, that seemed cool, but also very dangerous. They put it in a pretty negative light.
All right. Let's. That was I think one of the longest rundowns of just that we didn't even talk about any stories. I think but every one of the actual checkpoint stories was like a jumping off point to other stuff, which is fine.
I like it. I like it when we get into deep dives.
Do you want to kind of cover some of the other stuff? So
there's a couple. Let's talk about a couple of other stories that we didn't cover on the episode of Checkpoint. Final Fantasy VII: The First Soldier,
battle royale game,
which was a battle royale mobile game.
Okay.
Which you could be forgiven for having forgotten about because I did, and pretty much everybody else did, and therefore it is shutting down in January, a little over a year after it came out, after it started. So yeah.
Oh yeah, I kind of remember them talking about this at one of the online events.
So it lasted about a year.
It launched in November 2021 and is shutting down in January 2023. So yeah, just a little over a year.
Okay.
So the notice here is an interesting way of so it's with a heavy heart. We're not at the end of the service. Final Fantasy VII First Soldier. Despite all our efforts to bring you regular updates with fresh and exciting content, we haven't been able to deliver the experience that we were hoping to, that you all deserve. So we made the extremely tough decision to end the service. So, which is interesting. Like usually they say like it didn't reach the audience that we were hoping it would, or whatever. Whereas they're being like, clearly this is on us. This is our fault. This is our fault.
I kind of dig the "you deserve better."
Yeah. It's a little bit like, it feels like kind of a weird like breakup thing where it's like it's like it's my fault.
It's not you.
Yeah,
it's me.
It's my fault.
You deserve better.
You deserve better than what I was able to give you.
Yeah.
And so come January, we will no longer be in a relationship.
Yeah. We're
we're gonna
we'll-
tough it
we'll
out through
have- well,
Christmas
yeah.
because I know that you're gonna want to. We still have to go visit your parents, and we don't want to explain that to them at that time, and that's cool.
Yeah, we'll have 3 months to of time where we'll still be. I'll still be doing updates, and any in relationship currency will still apply. But
Yeah, we're breaking up, but we're still going to date for a little bit until I decide that we're done.
No, I really like the idea of you already promised your folks you were gonna go visit them at Christmas, and
Yeah.
you don't want to like
Have to explain that you're
deal
single.
with that I'm single
Yeah.
or that we're breaking up. And so we survive through Christmas because maybe we're still good enough friends.
Well, we're still living in the same house, so we have to find new places to
yeah,
live. Yeah,
and yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's definitely the basis for
Yeah.
like a good chunk of romantic comedy / Hallmark films.
Exactly.
if I might make a more
Final Fantasy VII Hallmark film
if I
coming
might
this Christmas.
if I might make a more misanthropic statement, since I've been doing nothing but that so far on this chill point, that also I think the shine is off Final Fantasy VII.
Really? That shine's been going on for like 20 years. I don't
see
know
this as evidence that people are that the Gen Z or whatever the Gen double Zeta, Gen Char's counterattack, whatever the new one is finally being like, what the fuck is this Final Fantasy VII bullshit? It's 20 years old. Why would I want to play some boomers game?
Headline: Man who hasn't played Final Fantasy VII thinks that Final Fantasy VII isn't good anymore.
Is elated that everyone can stop fucking talking about Final Fantasy VII like it's the greatest thing since sliced.
Paul, do we want to run that disclaimer again
Cloud,
about opinions and?
It's the greatest thing since sliced Eris.
Wow, nice. Hey, here's two flavors that you probably wouldn't think would have tasted good together: Cyberpunk 2077 and Stadia.
Whoa, what happened here?
Two big success stories.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay.
But if you put them together,
Negatives equal positive, right?
yeah, it's basically
Two negatives equal a positive.
after Stadia announced their shutdown. They also announced their shutdown. They announced their shutdown, and they're like, "We're gonna refund everybody's thing."
But you don't get to keep your save files.
But by the way, if you have any save files with
Yeah.
any of these games,
who knows what happens?
but what happens to a cloud when it goes away?
Well, it just gone.
Fair. Yeah.
And so the Cyberpunk 2077 devs are like, actually, wait. We're gonna release. They just released a instructions and a update for how so that their system can so you can import you can use the Google Takeout
Oh, nice.
and you can export your Stadia data and then go into it, and they give you like the path to go into it and
Okay.
get the folder that's got your Cyberpunk 2077 save data.
Okay.
And then you can either put it directly, if you've got Cyberpunk on your PC,
right.
you can it'll actually import it into your thing. Or if you've got Cyberpunk on your console, apparently the GOG client can actually import it and sort of move it into GOG's cloud servers.
No shit.
Which then will come down onto your
Okay.
console.
Because I was gonna say, I'm like, but what if you don't have the game on PC? But also, what if you don't have the game at all on another platform yet? It's like we have a method to extract it. Does not require you owning it in any other form.
That's pretty cool.
That's cool.
So then I guess, theoretically, if you got it on GOG sometime later,
Yeah.
your save will be there.
Yeah.
Okay, to derail this conversation completely, somebody in the chat said, I'm not going to pretend I'm not going to,
Sure.
said that Trigger wouldn't make an anime about
Stadia. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the people who did Summer Wars movie
Probably, yeah.
probably would.
Yeah, I could see that.
And I could see that going over. That could be fun.
The Cyberpunk Edge Runners, I'm told, has resulted in people actually picking up Cyberpunk 2077 to play because they're like, yo, this is a sweet anime. Is the game this good?
Sure.
So,
It's I would like to, from everything I've heard,
Yeah.
Cyberpunk 2077 actually pretty good.
Yeah?
Now, like they've got the
Lots of
bugs.
fixes.
They've got the bugs mostly worked out and stuff. In the same way that apparently Witcher 3 was not that different. Like it's considered to be one of the better games now. but on launch it also had issues.
And
So
they made an
basically,
anime.
if you get a CDPR game at launch, you're basically buying early access.
No, wait. Witcher 3 didn't make an anime. They made a live action?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did also make cartoons. There's it's not well, I guess it's sort of anime.
Castlevania style anime.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Which is actually quite good, but
Yeah.
they also have the live action one. In order to promote the new Pokemon, the Splatoon is doing one of their Splatfests. But this is with the new Splatoon, the Splatfests are 3-way instead of 2-way, and so they're doing grass, fire, and water.
Yeah, the starter types.
The starter
usually.
types. And my takeaway for this is here. Let me pull up the
Image?
show you the thing here. So this is the like splash image, and then they have in-game shirts.
Yeah, you wear a
For
shirt
your-
for your team colors.
for your
usually.
team, yeah.
Like when you go to camp and they decide to give everybody
But you can
colored
see them
shirts.
like they're wearing there, and they're actually going to be starting. They're going to be selling them for real too,
Yeah.
which you can see.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's
they've
fantastic.
done this before, at least in Japan, maybe in some other areas with Splatoon 2. And it's always a thing I see that I'm like, I want one of those.
So my takeaway of this though was when they said they're selling shirts for this event for grass, fire, and water. I want that guy, like these guys on it. Like this is
I
so
see.
cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
The shirt is just like
It's the logos.
it's
just-
it's the shirt you wear in game.
yeah, but
Yeah.
it's just like the things with the color. Like it's just very boring in comparison to the key art.
The backs probably have, like they're showing the fronts there.
Yeah, but
and then the backs have like the Pokemon. Anyway, I just thought this key art looked so cool, and I was like, oh man, a shirt of that would actually be pretty sweet.
They might do a poster,
Not likely.
wallpaper, but not a poster.
but
yeah.
there is, if you go to the Japanese Nintendo store, there is some pretty good, neat Splatoon-related items there. Clearly, we can't
Yeah.
just buy them, including like they're all. One's like a foldable crate that's neon yellow. They've got like a backpack and
Are neon yellow crates the thing in the game?
no, this is just merch you can buy
Oh.
in Japan.
Code Indigo
specifically.
says that the text on the blue one is reminiscent of the katakana for mizu, or water, so it would make sense to
Makes
that.
sense.
By and large, whenever you see letter forms in Splatoon, they are based on katakana or hiragana that's been rotated or skewed slightly or moved in different ways because they want the text to feel familiar but not to be familiar. So
Right.
they've done transforms to them in ways that you don't actually see them. So yeah, if it looks like that to you, it's because it probably was.
I don't disagree with Paul's want for a cool shirt that has Splatoon on it.
Absolutely.
But I do really appreciate T-shirts that come from games, like is a thing that you would have worn in game.
Yeah. That's
and
true.
isn't just
That's
a
true.
thing that's like, hey, it's a Splatoon on your shirt.
Yeah, I love it when I get non-logoed shirts actually because it makes me
Or
the
a
subtle
like
nature.
the
is-
logo that's cool, right? The
Yeah.
little squid icon as opposed to the name of the game.
Yeah, you don't want to have a big Capcom thing on your chest. I mean,
Right,
it's-
right.
I don't want to wear.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
maybe it would be better as like a poster or something. I just thought it wasn't even just it wasn't the squid. It was just like in that particular sort of painterly style.
Yeah.
I just thought it was very neat.
Looks sweet as hell. Did you, from when I said, hey, there's a Splatoon person, did you actually pull, from my Pokemon story, did you actually pull somebody from that picture?
Not from that picture.
No.
Okay, I thought
It
you
was
would have been
a-
like,
it
I'm
was
going to
a-
do a backdoor thing to be
it's
like,
a-
oh,
No.
the-
3D model of
was-
just look like a
it's actually
random avatar.
It was actually surprisingly difficult to find a picture of a Splatoon character with their mouth open, showing their teeth.
Oh,
yeah.
We've mentioned that Lady Dimitrescu from Resident Evil Village. So Resident Evil Village has a multiplayer aspect to it.
Yeah,
called,
that
called,
side
called
game.
Mercenaries mode.
Right.
And where they all have it's like you can play the people in the game and they all have like special abilities and stuff. For instance, Chris has a punch that there's an interview with the developers here, and they're talking about a few things because Chris and Lady Dimitrescu are being both added to the Mercenaries mode.
Right.
And one of the things they talk about, like Chris has gotten a lot of people are enjoying it online because there's things of him like he punches and like 5 guys in front of him just go flying.
Yeah.
He's got this just like ridiculous, and they're saying basically what they did when they were testing it, they made it, realistic or not realistic, but gave him like a normal hitbox for it.
Oh.
And they're saying it was really easy to miss. And they're saying, so they're like, you know what? Let's just make it feel good to punch.
Yeah.
And you just like give him a real, because
Make it feel like a Muso game.
in the games he has like punched a boulder
Yeah.
to smithereens.
Yeah.
So like he's supposed to be a tough guy.
Make it feel good. Yeah.
Yeah. So Lady D though.
So yeah.
Wow, what are
so
people mad about?
So I mean, so I think we mentioned this before, but one of the awesome things is they were trying to find what design moves for her in the Mercenaries mode, because when she's an NPC or a bad guy in the game,
Right.
she does a certain number of things, and then so they went and looked at like what the things she does. But when you have a character in a game like this, you want to have special moves and stuff. Like she can't just do all the clawing or whatever, right? And one of the things she does to you in the game is at one point she just like chucks a vanity at you.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that's a pretty good gif.
And so they made it one of her special moves is she just chucks furniture at you.
From Hammer Space.
From off camera. She just grabs a random piece of furniture from out of frame and just throws it, which is pretty amazing. They were like, and again, they were like, we decided it was more, in the design proposal, the words "you can throw a vanity" gathered a lot of laughter and enthusiasm among the development team. So rather than sweat details like where does the furniture come from,
Yes.
we concentrated on making it a fun, interesting attack.
Good.
Yeah. That's fair.
I have a pocket full of vanities.
Unfortunately, in the game, as is often the case in games like this, she's a big boss character.
yeah.
She works in her environment, but in a multiplayer thing, you're in lots of different arenas.
Yeah.
And a 9-foot tall vampire lady,
Yeah.
when everybody else is normal size,
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily work in all the environments.
No, she definitely has that kind of Jaws trouble.
Yeah,
from
yeah,
GoldenEye,
yeah. And so they had to. They tried to they kept her as tall as they could, but they had to make her a little smaller so she didn't actually so she could fit through doorways and
Yeah.
not bash her head on the ceiling of every room.
Fair.
So they made her just small enough so that she is below the ceiling in the rooms.
Yeah.
So yes, unfortunately, Lady Dimitrescu in Mercenaries mode is a little shorter, but hopefully you'll
mean,
forgive that
that's the-
because she can just throw random furniture at people.
That's the mode where you're running around and basically attacking everybody else, right? It's a
Yeah,
PvP type thing. I mean, everybody's different, but if I were her, I just wouldn't wear my high heels that day.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, okay.
You inside the house and you're being menacing and you're very tall and you want to be even taller, yes, but wear your flats. You got to go through the dirt. Come on.
Also, I mean, if you're in a life and death situation, fighting a whole bunch of different people, maybe nobody's going to go and check to see if you're exactly 9 feet tall.
Yeah,
Wasn't it 9 feet tall with her hat as well?
That's how
Hat
they
and heels.
first marked it. They were like including her hat because that's just how the model was.
Yeah.
They're like including her hat, she's 9 feet
So
tall.
eye line wise, it's not like you'd be up here anyway because that's
Her
where
hat-
the hat is.
her
You'd
hat
actually
is not
be down
that
here.
big.
Yeah, yeah. But she is probably about 8 feet tall, which is still because judging from your POV and stuff, it's
Look,
definitely very big. But
if I have to, I will retcon her into wearing absolutely the most baller platformer shoes
Sure.
possible in the game, and that she's not wearing them that day to make this work.
it's funny because in Hyrule Warriors, when they're bringing in lots of DLC characters, one of the ones that they brought in was the Great Fairy. And the Great Fairy in Breath of the Wilds, Great Fairies are all massive. They're all huge.
Their Great Fairies are from Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, so it's like, so they even went with like a smaller Great Fairy, but she's very big.
Hard to control.
And she's hard to control, and the camera has to be way up here
I
in
don't
order to
like
make it
the
work.
camera work on that.
And it's like, but they still were like, we're going to put her in the game, or we're going to make it part of the experience that you're going to have a completely difficult time playing this, but we're going to make them, like, make her fit. And I was like,
Yep.
I'm impressed that you went to the effort. It completely, like, makes the game so hard to play. But
and her victory screen, I'm mildly uncomfortable that Link is in the bottle at that point, but also revenge for putting fairies in bottles, so I feel like it evens out.
Yeah. Anyway, just...
Guess what? It's an important double digit starting with 3 anniversary for a retro video game character known for using dash and roll
Also is very blue.
to fight robot minions of a bald scientist with a huge mustache.
Boy, you really got it all in there, didn't
Yeah,
you?
yeah. Can you guess who that is?
Is it Rockman?
It is.
All right.
It's Mega Man's 35th anniversary. Are Mega Man and Sonic just the same person?
Could be. Different universe. alternate universe, alternate timeline.
Ooh. It's
The new logo's pretty good.
yeah. It is.
A little boring, but it's good.
It's it's Mega Man's 35th or Rockman 35th anniversary. Copyright Capcom.
There
Which is they didn't even do that in like the pixely font.
No.
Which is a little cheesy.
Yeah, I would have thought they'd put Capcom in the logo.
Yeah, if you're gonna do it in some way, but the it's
Laserbeak's Fury just having a revelation in the chat.
yeah, rock and roll. Yeah.
I'm glad.
I'm glad to see people still care about Legends
Yeah.
3.
It's
the
very
only Mega Man game I know.
show all the logos because this is like, it's why I'm like, it's a good logo. It's uninspired, but it's a good logo because it kind of, accomplishes what's supposed to accomplish. But these are way better logos.
Oh, heck yeah.
Oh my god. Like, I
Heck
don't know
yeah.
what, because I'm like looking at all of them, I'm kind of like, yeah, because I was like,
The
oh, this is
20th
fine.
anniversary
I
one.
like the 20th.
That
But-
literally is the Sonic. Why is
Yeah.
he turned into Sonic in
And their
that logo?
30th is quite good too.
The 30th logo is just, it's
What
just,
happened with 35?
25 is I think my favorite because of how not only just simple how it is, but it integrates everything you need to have in it. The green is an odd thing to have in there, but 30 just feels real slick. 25 is really readable.
The 25th, the TH
Yeah.
above and below kind of bugs me.
Yeah.
But
But
I mean, we have an anniversary coming up as well, and it's kind of like nice to see how other people do anniversary logos. 'Cause it's
why does 35 look like that when all of the... Did they just have a
Right?
bad day?
like
Like, what?
well, they should use like the head of the guy on like the original Mega Man packaging.
yeah.
The guy who's just like
Yeah,
grimacing with the gun.
It definitely is like, it's good, it accomplishes what it needs to do, but Christ, I would never buy that on a t-shirt. Oh wait.
I mean, it's not.
I mean,
not that,
I wouldn't have bought any of those others
Yeah.
on a t-shirt either, to be honest.
Avirix, Mega Man. I don't know who.
It's
are
probably
they,
on the
they're,
neck.
They're like a. Are they like a shirt company?
I
or-
think they're a shirt company. Yeah, they're doing their and maybe I don't know who did the design for it, but it's kind of like Christ. Yeah.
I mean,
anyway.
they use the energy.
There's a shirt
Thingy.
available, and there's also Mega Man Battle Network collection. I think is their big thing.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there isn't. Yeah, there isn't like a ton of stuff, but to talk about yet.
Yeah. Asking me to make logos for stuff or asking me to do whatever is tough because I'm not an illustrator. I'm not an artist. I do layout, but it's like I don't design shit from scratch.
I mean, you do some design where you start a thing so you can visually show a person what
yeah,
you want.
like the Loading Ready Run Pride design was something where I was like, we should do something like this, and I drew it out very rough, and then Graham was like, I can make that look like it actually belongs on a t-shirt.
Yeah,
And it's like, great, do it.
And I think that's fine.
Yeah. But asking me to design my own logo is maybe not the way to go. I'll have to pay someone to do that. I mean, no, I did design my own logo way back in the day. It's not great either. So anyway.
And finally, they've shown off the other playing player character for Bayonetta 3.
Yeah, didn't they call her second protagonist?
Something,
Or something like that?
Hi.
Yeah.
Viola, who is apparently a
Vampire?
witch. No, she's like a witch.
I don't know, everybody's witches or
she's
angels or something.
well, because Bayonetta's like what is that? A gun witch?
Sure. Yeah. Hair
yes.
witch.
It's lunchtime.
So
Time
she-
to get my gun witch on.
She's a sword witch, I'm guessing.
She's a Umbra. She's an Umbra witch
that's it.
in training.
Right. Okay.
So I guess because she doesn't have the fancy Bayonetta hair yet. And so instead of being adept using a variety of weapons, Viola only uses her katana and throwing darts. She summons her demonic companion Cheshire for backup.
Cheshire.
Apparently, actually, which is apparently a neat way that they illustrate that she's like not as in control of the powers is that both of them can summon Cheshire, which is the demonic thing. Bayonetta, you summon the cat and control it. For Viola, she summons it, and you just basically summon it, and it goes just like rah, and it goes by AI control.
Great.
Which means you don't have as much control over it, but it also means that you can run around and attack people while it's happening.
It's very autonomous.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is kind of a neat way of kind of illustrating the difference between them. So apparently they both play really fun, but are quite different. So
I would love Bayonetta to get an anime because I don't want to play the games.
Yeah.
Personally, I've seen the controls. I know that they can be fun to play, but they're not my jam.
Yeah.
I would be
But
surprised.
I want to watch an anime about it.
Like I'd be surprised if there wasn't like some sort of talks about an anime. Like it seems like the kind of stylish game that there would be some sort of anime in planning for.
There's an anime?
Bayonetta
Why
Bloody
has no
Fate.
one
I haven't
told
heard
me
of-
there's a Bayonetta anime?
Haven't heard of this. I haven't seen it come up. There's a film, they say, so.
I'd watch an anime.
Oh hey, the
As a
RTX
treat.
the RTX 4090 is out.
That's a graphics card?
Yeah, it's real big.
Yeah, it's a coffee table.
Yeah. It is larger than an Xbox Series S.
Oh, in
How do
terms
you-
of length, like,
But-
yeah.
How does
It's a triple thick card.
Something like that.
Yeah, triple slot card essentially.
aren't these supposed to go inside computers?
They eventually
Look,
they
that's
can't
with an
tend to
Xbox
fit.
controller on top of it.
Yeah.
Look at it.
Yeah.
It's so fat. Here's a banana for scale.
Oh, my
Oh, good. I'm
God.
glad they did that.
Ugh.
I can never really
Oh.
tell until I see the banana.
Almost a 4-slot card. Okay, well that's
I-
good.
This is just comparing it to another this is a 2-slot graphics
Aren't
card.
computers supposed to be getting smaller?
Yeah, if you count the tangs on the end of the thing, so 3 slots plus a little bit more. So
Is this Sony's fault for making the PS5 so big?
I mean,
No, probably not.
by and large, most of that card is going to be its cooling system.
It needs to be that cool?
Well, it needs to have that beefy a cooling system. Yeah, it needs to have 3 big fans and probably a lot of heat sinks and heat pipes in it to be able to push out as much as there is
What
in
do
there.
you need this card for?
Well,
To run a car?
For what it's worth, Ars Technica did a quite thorough review of it, and what for what it's worth, they're like, this thing it's on like $1,500 US
Yeah.
MSRP, and they're like,
that's rent.
but they're like, price per speed,
Yeah, price performance.
price per performance. This card is actually like a bargain.
Yeah. That's great.
What they're saying,
I
like
love it.
basically, this thing is ridiculously powerful.
Nice.
That being said, you can't use that power unless you are running it. You are going to be into like heavy duty 4K gaming.
Right.
The game you're playing is probably going to be CPU bound before it's GPU bound.
Okay.
Or IO bound before this thing even starts to work hard.
So it's future proof, is what
like
you're saying.
like if you're a if you're used to playing 1080p games,
Yeah.
there's no game that could stress this thing even a little bit before the rest of other components of your computer stop being able to keep
Right.
up.
Good Christ.
I'm gonna say the moment you said you can't always use this power, my brain auto completed with great power comes great responsibility.
When did the 3000 series cards come out? A year ago or 2 years ago?
2 years ago, I think.
So if the take on this is that we're going to
When-
see a 5000 series in maybe 3 years, but maybe 2 years, that means that if you're buying a 4090 right now, then you want to be able to stress it. You would be you'd have to find a way to really get going with hardware and whatnot with the next 2 years.
2080 was 2020. Okay, so maybe just a year.
Maybe just
now,
a year.
The tricky
Wow.
part, or no, the 3080. Okay, yeah, 3080 was 2020. Okay, yeah, so 2 years ago.
Okay.
That being said, if you even a 2080,
Mm-hmm.
which is maybe 4 years old now.
Yeah.
If you are in that sort of, if you are like playing primarily like 1080p games and stuff, you're not going to have any problems.
No, absolutely.
So the idea that it's like you have to hit the that you have to keep up with this thing is not like, if you've got this thing,
Yeah.
it's going to last you for a good long time.
Yeah.
And with the supply chains being what they are, you might actually be able to get one. Like that was the whole thing with the 30 thing cards, was that it came out 2 years ago, but 2 years ago nobody could get one.
Yeah, because I keep thinking of like feature level, like the kind of features that you have in a card. Generally, like every time a new version of a card comes out, is I'm just thinking this is like I have this Ferrari so that I can drive from here to work and go home again.
Right.
And I don't live on the Nürburgring, so it's like I don't need that Ferrari
you're never
for
really
any part
getting-
of that. I'm never really winding it up.
getting the
right?
thrill out of
and
it.
so it's like, but if and that's a car analogy sucks, so don't go. Let's not get into that. But to know that a 4090 is probably going to do what we need it to do for like the next 8 to 10 years, like let's pretend it's like sure, but except that in like the next 4 years, maybe 2 generations from now, the amount of things that will have evolved in that show up on cards as features might have changed, right? Like it's like I own this 4090. It's like cool. It's like what can it do? It can do all this kind of stuff. Cool. Can it also encode AV1? No,
There
it
is-
can't. And AV1's a new thing that just came out on the 5000 series.
There is a good point. Yeah. But it is also like even on the 4000 series, like even if you don't get the 4090, if you get one of the lesser 4000 series ones, you're still getting access to a bunch of the new,
Lovelace.
the RTX stuff, the
Or Lovelace, whatever.
there's some really interesting stuff with video encoding, with neural network, background noise removal and all that kind of interesting stuff, motion tracking and really interesting things that they're doing with that.
all the shit you see them talk about whenever a new iPhone comes out.
Of course, the other problem is that the other concern that people have is this thing's got a power usage of 450 watts. Now, apparently, it doesn't actually use that most of the time. Obviously, that's it. But that's
like its max.
I've had entire computers that use that. Yeah.
yeah, that's significantly more powerful, more power than a lot of computers use.
Yeah.
And so, in addition to the card, you are probably, unless you already have something pretty substantial, you're probably gonna have to upgrade your power supply as well.
Yeah.
How much? How much was this card again?
$1,500 US.
15 US. So I think they're going for like 2,000 or 22 Canadian.
Okay, so a couple $1,000
Yeah.
to last you
5
potentially
years.
5 years,
Probably longer.
maybe longer, depending on your computer needs,
Yeah.
and then still useful as a coffee table afterwards.
Yes, exactly.
So it seems like a bargain.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I like the idea of saying you have this thing that's like whatever we're using. I think we still have a 1000 series in our gaming computer, maybe a 2000 series in our
2000,
gaming,
yeah,
2000
series,
series.
yeah.
So it's like if we were to buy the 4090 just because it's like lol, that's hilarious, and we threw it in the machine, it'd be like we would probably not have to upgrade it for a while just all the other components around it would have to get constantly upgraded, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
again, we are, because of streaming purposes, we are 1080p.
Yeah.
So
there's no point to go
there's no
4K
point,
anyway.
yeah.
Yeah.
Please don't go 4K.
Oh yeah, we're not going to do that. But
There's no point.
All right, let's call it there. We're
way over time.
way
Holy
over
crap,
time.
sorry.
Gotta
Oh, heck yeah.
jump over to Friday Night Paper Fight pretty quick here. So, thanks everybody for watching, and thanks everybody for joining us, talking about video game news and all that good stuff. And we will see all y'all later.
Bye.
Bye.